G'day folks, Steve from Vintage Restorations Australia here. In today's video we finalise that rear end diff and get the brakes on there, and then we get going on the front swivel joints, the hub and the boot assemblies. What's happened to you, John?
Left backing plate on the right hand side, right backing plate on the left hand side. The adjuster is supposed to be on the leading edge. And those bolts are the wrong way around. Nuts and washers should be on the back. Bolt head should be on this side. There'd be a lot more clearance between the hub and the actual head of the nut.
That's a bit of a pill.
Oh, easy fix. Now's a good time to do it.
I guess. What duffer did that must have been me. Put those bolts back through the right way. The brake slave cylinder fitted.
You know what on? Screw I've lost. Oh, there it is. Didn't lose it all. I think I was getting a bit of movement on that. Beautiful. Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
These are just temporary till I pull the ones off that Series 3. Just to get it so we can roll it in and out. Paul's just trying to remove this little half shaft out of here, one of the ones that we extracted out of the other diff. Was a bit too worn and chewed out, so a bit of a hold up while we get this out and give that a clean up, and we'll make use of that one.
So this is the bad universal joint where we had, well, half shaft we had to begin with, rust, pitting, and the splines are badly worn. These splines really nice. Shaft looks in good condition. Mine a bit of rust, surface only.
Just a bit of moisture.
And the universal joint feels like it's almost new.
You could damn near put that whole thing in.
Yeah. Okay, coming in.
There you go.
Beautiful. New shiny bits. Turn that off so I can stop smoke.
Crank and film. Paul, you're going to have to do that. Bit of the oil seal in there. And then this goes over the top.
Front swivel. Nice shiny bit.
New.
But we have to add a few bits before we bolt it on. Oh. So, those bits have to go on before we bolt it on. And this goes on. There's a gator.
Interlude music. Did you get that, John?
Yes, I did. And you need a gasket. You need the correct size gasket.
We've got replacement bolts for those, or we're using the old stuff?
We got to get the old bolts. Paul was cleaning those up earlier.
Oh, and they look beautiful too.
So there's your gasket goo.
We endeavour to never make the same mistake twice. We usually make it 4 or 5 times just to make sure we've really got it wrong, which was the case in this instance. We got things back to front and upside down, and unfortunately all this work was wasted and left for John to fix up.
Well, welcome back to the shed. Not many pesky people to annoy me today. Last time I had just put the swivels on the front axle, and unfortunately I put them on upside down so they angle out rather than angle in for the kingpin. So I had to take them off and to take out the bearing race at the bottom and the pinion bearing at the top and flip them over. So on assembly you have some of this one-shot grease, which is a combination of grease and oil. You use one lot of it for each side, one package for each swivel. Put a little bit on everything on the inside. It'll stop things rusting, especially because we won't be driving this car for a while yet till we get the electric motor installed, so I'm going to spread it around. Normally as you drive around it would get smeared on by transport, by spinning the prop shaft, the axle shaft. And I'll smear it on the ball as well, so we can prepare for when we're going to fit the oil seal which has to rub against that. So that's looking much better. The kingpin is now inclined into towards the middle of the car rather than outwards, which is what you want. And in a particular series, the bearing races on the bottom to take the load, and then there's a pin on the top which has to be adjusted for the preload on the steering. One thing I have noticed taking these off, they have a lock nut, if you'd call it that. You can see the slots and the tabs on the top of the nuts, and those are supposed to spin on freely until you get towards this top end, and then they should have some friction. If I screw it on, you can see it just goes on, and then eventually the bolt sticks out the end of the nut. I didn't have any trouble twisting that on with my fingers. If I expose the end that's supposed to be self-locking and just give it a gentle tap, now when I do it up by hand, I get to the spot where the bolt would be potentially coming out, but it can't. With a spanner, I'll get that on, and once it's put on, it'll stay on. Nothing wrong with these old metal ones. I reckon they'll do the job fine. So the swivel is on. This is just the testing phase, so I haven't bent up any of the tabs to hold the nuts, and I still need to do the measurements. The bottom bearing, which is a taper roll, needle roller bearing, with the steering arm is attached. I've tightened those up to 50 foot-pound. The top pinion has all the shims that I was given, because you can always take some out, but you might want as many as you can get. They're also done up to 50 foot-pound. And now the goal is from this point here, which will be the same on both sides. The other side steering arm is shorter, so it only has this portion. You put a fish scale in here and you pull, and it should take 7 kilos of force, 14, 15 pound of force, for it to start moving. So you pull on it, you feel lots of resistance, and then it starts to move, and you read the fish scale.
In the manual, it sort of illustrates the use of the fish pull. The disturbing thing is, as the bloke that's doing the job only has one finger. Perhaps he's an unemployed pirate, or that's just typical of most Land Rover mechanics. They've lost a digit or two.
Unfortunately, I don't have a fish scale, so I'm just going to compare it to the weight of 2 house bricks, which is roughly the same in Australia. Might be a bit more, might be 8 kilos or 17 pound. But basically, when I pull on it,
if I can pretend I was lifting 2 house bricks, which is quite a lot, then I'd be happy. I reckon that could be tighter.
could be harder to pull. That's not too bad. That's probably 1.5 house bricks. So next in the assembly, we've got to get the hub bearings ready and also the brake backing plate. Brake backing plate is up there. There's a gasket that goes between the hub bearing and the swivel. And this is the hubs. I have to get the bearing off it. There's an oil seal on there and then a collar to come off. Okay, well, that bearing is off, and as you can see from the oil seal itself, that's seen better days. Oil seal slips off, and there's the spacing collar pointed to by the screwdriver here. This is the new one that we're going to put on. It just put it in the chip fryer, slide it on, should be good. When they're stripped down, they look like this. So what usually happens is this bit wears out, gets a groove in it. Okay, got the distance piece off from here. There's a few divots in it. That's me giving it a good hit along the edge with a cold chisel. That makes the whole diameter of the piece larger and makes it easier to pull off. First time I've done that successfully. Anyway, worked. Next, clean this up, get it ready to put the new distance piece on. Okay, there we are, new distance piece attached. So it's a nice shiny smooth surface for the oil seal to run on. The earlier series Land Rovers had a phosphor bronze, I assume, bush in this end, and they drop that in the later models. So the fact that one's a bit mangled and manky, we're not going to worry about because they don't recommend putting one in. Well, there we go. We've now got a backing plate on. The wheel bearings are going here, the hub bearings will go in here. I still have to tighten up these bolts and then fold over the tabs, which reminds me, I still have to fold over the tabs on the top. And then there's a little bit more work putting some brakes and bearings on here. So another interesting lesson, this is the lock tab that's supposed to go on the hub. And this is what they looked like after I'd put the torque wrench on and done the bolts up. So obviously it got a grip on this thin bit of steel and just chewed it right up. So I took them off, I've torqued it up to squeeze the gasket down nice and tight, and I'll come back in a little bit and replace the locking tabs and hope that they don't break. But they're a bit wussy, they're a bit small in cross section. Well, getting towards the end of the day, there's a few things I didn't record, which is probably just as well that there's a bit of swearing going on. But let's have a look. The instructions for the leather gaiter to be fitted say that the seam that you have to put together, which is based off the holes, joining the holes at the other end, should be facing forward and slightly above the middle. Now that doesn't work at all. Turns out when you look at the leather gaiter, the spaces between the holes are different. And the spaces between the holes on the backing plate of the swivel housing are different. And the holes best fit when the seam is along the bottom of the edge. So if you're putting leather gaiters on, stick this seam down at the bottom. Now, the other instructions are rub it with petroleum jelly until it turns brown. Well, our petroleum jelly is clear. I don't know what it is in other countries. And the leather is blue. Turns out it just stays blue. So that's what it is, it's blue. So here we are on the vehicle and the leather gaiter is in place. You can barely see a little bit of string hanging down the bottom. That's a nylon cord used to lace the edges, and the lacing is at the base of the swivel. The leather is a bit of a pill to fit, but okay, and everything gets greasy because it's all covered in Vaseline. And then around the axle end is a Jubilee clip or a snail clamp, whatever you want to call it. So that's the clip. I haven't actually finally done that up yet. I have to do a little bit more work, but that's okay. Tabs need to be folded up, but it's to spec and tightened up nicely. And I'm just waiting on cleaning up the bearing housing, and then I can do this end of the work. And whilst that will be another day, I have used the one-shot grease and applied it into the swivel housing via the filler cap on the end there, you can just see in profile, and it fills it right up to the filler cap, which is kind of good, or at least with air bubbles it does, it comes out a little bit, and that's ready to go. So on with the brakes and the wheel bearings and hubs. That's the next thing. And with any luck on this side, we'll do some more videoing and actually capture of putting the gaiters on and applying the grease seal onto the swivel.
Well, that's it for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. A couple of quick thank yous. I'd just like to thank John for his work that he's been doing out there in isolation. It's not that much fun working in a workshop by yourself, but he's making the best of it and doing a great job. So thank you, John. I really do appreciate that. Also, thanks to all the people who have been making comments and liking the videos and things. That really, it does actually help, having a brain's trust out there and sharing ideas and things. That's what YouTube's all about, and that's why we do it, so we can share knowledge and information. We do appreciate those comments, so keep them coming. We love to hear from you wherever you are in the world. We've got people everywhere from England, Scotland, Canada, all over the joint. Lots of Aussies, of course. Anyway, on that note, a big thank you. This week we reached 1,000 subscribers. That's a big thing for us. So thank you for your support. We do appreciate those subscriptions. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It costs nothing. And also we appreciate it if you just hit the like button when you see the videos, if you like them. Of course, you can always give us the thumbs down, as one or two people do from time to time. I guess moving on from here, John's going to keep working. He's done a little bit more. He's given me the video for that. I just haven't got it edited. I didn't want to make a 40-minute video of the work he's been doing. So we've got another one in the can there that you'll get to have a look at in the next week or two. Also, I'll keep working on this this series 109 here. That project's going pretty well and giving me something to do while I'm in isolation. We're also looking into the restoration of one of my 80 inches that I've got over there in the paddock, and we might get that in the workshop when we move this over, because we've got a bit of space and I want to get it out of the weather. So that's pretty much it. We'll catch up next week. Take care of yourselves and look after each other. So till then, see ya.